The Square Ball Podcast.
The Square Ball Weekly Show is brought to you by Levi Solicitors. 10% discount is available for you on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/The Square Ball. Dan, Michael and Moscow here with you on the show. Part 2 of the show brings us a preview of the game that's coming up at the weekend. As it says on our sheet, whoever typed this, Norwich. No R in that. So that's a good start, isn't it?
It's near enough.
Yeah.
It's near enough. You know we're playing.
We don't need to show them any respect like spelling their name correctly. We just need to win 8-0.
I hope we do win, because it's weird, isn't it? I was saying this to people like off air over the weekend. It's mental that Norwich getting pumped 7-0 at Chelsea. And I fully expected them to get pumped at Chelsea because they're not a good team, and Chelsea are, sadly. That in some way cranked the pressure up on Leeds for this forthcoming game.
Well, there'll be a reaction, won't there?
That's what.
But the thing is, Norwich can't react because they're rubbish. So no matter what they come up with, no.
But on the other side of this, your bravado, which people will take seriously, Moscow, by the way.
Well, I'm serious because we're going to smash them because they're crap.
Okay. Is the fact that never in the history of football has there been something more definite to happen than a Norwich victory this weekend, because they are without victory.
Yep, staying that way.
And we're terrified. No, I'm not.
I mean, they are without Premier League victory.
I'm not worried about it
for a really, really, really long time. The last time they won in the Premier League, coronavirus wasn't around.
Right.
Think of it that way. And that feels like forever ago, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they beat Leicester City, would you believe, on the 28th of Feb 2020. And since then, they came back after the pandemic, lost every game, and went down. Then they won the championship really easily.
They got loads of points.
97 points.
Was it 97? Wow.
And then they've come up on a terrible again. I don't know. They're a strange team for doing this.
Who wrote the article this week saying that they exist essentially in a bizarre no man's land that is getting increasingly fostered by the current financial climate in football, in that they are too good for the Championship, not good enough for the Premier League, and just sort of bob about between them.
But then
is that true?
We exist, and Brentford exist, and Sheffield United even existed for a year, even Huddersfield for a year. It is possible to come up and stay up, and it's a shame on Norwich, in fact, for if they end up, well, they will go down, obviously, but if Brighton survive, and I only we were looking at it because
you were doing this last night, weren't you?
Yeah,
doing the maths on it. Yeah.
Cheerful as we are about Leeds United staying up very easily, I was checking to see how many games we need to win to stay up, and I noticed as I was looking at this, 5 should be fine, because more than 5 seems to be the cut-off. If you've only won 5, you're going down. If you've won more than 5, you seem to be okay, and we can win 5 games. That's fine.
That's not very many points, just to make that clear.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? But there's draws get involved as well, so it's all that. But just for wins, that's all I was looking at. Brighton, every season since they came up to the Premier League, and I think it's been 5 years, they've won 9 games each season. How can that be? How can they be allowed to get away with that? If you're
it's an outrage.
Well, if you're a Brighton fan and you're buying a season ticket for 19 games, and you know you're not going to win 10 of them. Well, in fact, it's home and away, isn't it? So if you
they're still doing that, yeah.
Let's say you go to every match and you know you're only going to see 9 wins at a maximum. It's a rip-off.
Basically a quarter of all games, yeah.
Yeah, just, they're either a draw or a defeat. It's pointless. You can't, and for it to be exact as well, I would start contacting Brighton and say, right, I only want tickets for the games we're going to win. Not interested in this. Or give me a 9-match season ticket and just make sure those are the games that we win, because I'm not interested in the other ones. But that's the kind of team.
That's how it works.
When we're talking about that hinterland of too good for the Championship, not good enough for the Premier League, you've also got these teams like Brighton who just, what's the point in just winning 9 games every year and finishing 16th?
That's going to be us this season at best, isn't it?
For me, the player who sums it up is Grant Hanley, in that not good enough for the Championship, not good enough for the Premier League. Quiz for you, how old is Grant Hanley?
He's 39.
I was going to say 38, he sounds like.
This is going to blow your mind. He's 29 years old. I just don't see how that's possible.
It's a typo. It's 39.
It seems. I mean, he's from Dumfries. He's 6'2". All this seems to add up.
To check his passport. Timo Pukki's a very old man, though, isn't he?
But
He's a Kenny old man. I think he's about 36 now.
Is he?
Yeah.
That can't be right.
He started late. Well, look it up. You've got your computer open, haven't you?
He's got to be younger than Grant Hanley still, though. That's the thing. He's only 31.
Really?
Yeah.
36. Where did that come from?
All right, give me the average age of Norwich's starting lineup against Chelsea. Or just the age of all of them. How old's Tim Krul?
Tim Krul.
He's a 45-year-old man.
He's only 33. What's Norwich doing to these people that's making them seem all much older than they actually are?
I suppose that's the crushing, constant defeat, isn't it? And the difference, you said before that that's what we're going to do this season. It might be what we do this season. We might only win 9 games and finish 16th, whatever. But at least last season we did better. And next season we'll be qualifying for Europe.
It genuinely does feel, from our perspective, that we just need to get this season out of the way now, don't we, and stabilise. That feels like the only thing we can do, which is bollocks. I mean, that this whole subset of clubs who just want to exist in the Premier League, we've become one of them, and it's not much fun.
We just need to. It's foundations, isn't it? And it's establishing ourselves, and then being able then to go to the next stage. And it's what is now everybody dismisses it as bollocks with the big spending last summer for 2 seasons, because it's a smarter way of thinking, recognising that we couldn't just buy a team for last season and stay up, because the next season is just as important as the first season in the Premier League. It's like pre-combating second season syndrome, and what we may be seeing now is that that's wise, because the second season is proving to be much more difficult than it was, and hopefully once they're fit, having the resources of somebody like Robin Koch, if he sorts his pubis out, Diego Llorente, now he's coming back to fitness. Who else did we sign last summer? Rafinha, for example. He's a good one to have for 2 seasons and no more. There's obviously the obvious lack of a midfielder that distresses people, but that as a plan, it would be more worrying to me now if you'd never heard any kind of consciousness that the second season was important from the club, whereas from the moment we got promoted, they've been saying we're planning to sort the first 2 seasons out and then we can push on. So, which is better than, I mean,
funny, isn't it? How we always land on what you might call big picture things, don't we? When we come to like looking at us in the face of adversity a little bit at the minute. But if we go there and win, which is what I said on the match ball last night, if we go to Norwich and win on Sunday, which is, let's face it, it's expected, then everything will be fine again.
Well, it's 2 wins of the 6 we need, then we'll have.
Yeah, well, this is true.
In the second season thing, just because we kind of touched on it, just looking at, like, we're not doing as badly, for example, as Sheffield United did. Like at this point last season, it was like, oh, okay, they're probably going down. Norwich, you look at, I know it's their second season at being in the Premier League and stinking the place out, but you already look at them and kind of think, well, they're probably down. Huddersfield, it was 11 games in when they won in the season they went down. So relative to that, it's kind of all right, but
it's not great. But it's still
it's fine as long as we beat Norwich, because it's a little bit worrying if we don't.
And we were talking again after things last night, and how it's difficult to see us playing much better than we do at the moment. But I was reminding us that last season we were very inconsistent all through the season. We only once before April managed to avoid defeat in 3 consecutive games. It was always win, lose a couple, win, lose a couple, win and draw, lose a couple. And then suddenly we went on that run of winning 8 or 9 in a row that before it happened, I don't think anybody saw it coming. We thought it was going to go through to the end of the season of win a couple, lose 1, lose a couple, win 1, and it would be that. So something changed at that point that we never saw coming, and that can happen again. It can just change, and it's one of the mysteries. Nobody's solved form as a mystery in football. It's still the one thing that you can get away with, just going, it's just out of form, and then all the weird theories come out of like why that might be. But it seems to be this intangible thing where you can't really say, oh, this thing specifically has happened to Matches Click, and now he's out of form. You've got to be
tired.
Come back again.
Or the manager's lost the dressing room. They're the 2 most common.
Or there's been a bust up, or some kind of domestic problem, and everyone will start inventing these things to fill this vacuum that is created by the fact that nobody has ever been able to explain why a footballer goes in and out of form. And when you listen to footballers talk about how they play themselves out of it, they just go, well, just go back to basics and keep plugging away, and then it changes. There's not a magic bullet. It happens, and it'll happen to us, and we'll beat Norwich.
I was going to ask, is this a 6-pointer?
Not.
I mean, no, because it won't keep them up.
It feels too early in the season to be a 6-pointer.
All right, is it a 6-pointer for us?
No, let's just win.
I know it has to be for both teams, but look, they are
a 3-pointer for us.
They are going to go down. I do agree, based on all the evidence that we have available to us, historic and this season. You have to say that, and I'm sure their fans would agree.
The way they played against Chelsea was absolutely diabolical as well. The goals they were conceding, they're just, when we were talking about on propaganda after the Arsenal games, that the goals we're conceding are coming from stupid mistakes. The goals Norwich were conceding to Chelsea were coming because they're fucking rubbish. Just they'd attack, they'd run out of ideas. There was one point a Chelsea player just ran and took the ball off the toe of a Norwich player and passed, and they're having a shot with the other end. That never happens to us. And yeah, all they'd have to do is it's one pass from Chelsea's penalty area, and they pass it into Norwich's end and score, and it's just awful.
Are you not worried about Norwich's strengths, according to WhoScored.com?
Go ahead.
Protecting the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Which
how many leads have they had this season?
They've won 2 points this season, both of which
2 goals.
Both of which were 0-0.
Right.
So they've not protected a lead yet this season.
So it must be a strength from a cup. Have they played any cup games?
Have they actually been in front in either of those?
Well, they were
0-0. Sorry,
they were 0-0.
Oh right.
So
okay.
No.
So they've not led at any point this season. They lost to Leicester. But then
they didn't protect that lead, did they?
Unless they did protect it for a while and then just shipped goals late. That's who knows how the internet charlatans is. I mean, going back a long way when we first introduced the Who Scored stats, this proves they are internet charlatans.
No, they've refined the algorithm since then. The weaknesses help us though, because they are weak at defending against attacks down the wings and defending against through ball attacks.
That feels to me like all attacks.
Yeah, they're awful. And also, you look at their team. Who are these people? I know the only ones we know are the ones who are like 50 years old, but the rest of them, they've signed, haven't they signed 10 players, and they're all terrible, and that's one of the other reasons why they'll be going down. They've done a full Cellino with the Buendia money after remember when he sold McCormack for 11 million, and then a year later he did that press conference. He said, "I just realised last night the McCormack money. I spend it all on the garbage." They've done that.
I've got another quiz for you here. Which one of the players here have I interviewed on stage and hosted a fireworks show alongside?
God, I can't think of any of them.
Tim Krul.
No.
I'm going to say B. Williams because you think it's Chris Bart Williams.
No. You're both wrong.
Go ahead.
Ben Gibson, who's the suspended centre-back. He got sent off at Chelsea, didn't he?
He's Middlesbrough, isn't he?
Yeah, so he was Middlesbrough captain, came through the ranks there, and went off to Norwich in the end. They paid a fair whack for him, didn't they, actually? Did Norwich. But yeah, it was when I was simultaneously on Metro and TFM did a firework display at the Riverside Stadium a few years back. And we had a chat on stage, which was nice.
Was he interested? Did he have a lot of firework expertise?
Yeah, he was a big fan of the Catherine Wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Rockets. Loved those.
The shoegaze fan.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Was what we haven't heard from, of course, but I mean, we can give our assessment of Norwich's team losing 7-0 at Chelsea, but what has Daniel Farke had to say?
How is he? Is he upset? Is he happy? I can't tell. I need to hear from him.
Yeah, because he did say after the game about looking ahead to the Leeds game. I think we've got the...
Let me just cue the audio up.
We've got
second.
the audio, haven't we? We've gone to the trouble of getting the tape. We may as well play it.
Yeah, there we go.
Let me just find what he said. Oh, yes.
Why do you need to see it? Just so you can...
So I can...
Watch along and listen along.
Go into character. Yes, it is not easy to shake such a result out of the clothes. It is always easy after 3 or 4 encouraging weeks on the training pitch and a couple of good solid results to bring a good mood on the pitch. To concede 7 is painful, but we are not trying to mess around with Chelsea in the Premier League. We need to be focused for the games against teams on our level, and there's just one topic now, and that is the next home game against Leeds.
Thank you, Daniel.
Shaking it out of his clothes. There's still a little bit in my cowboy boots, and it's like the sand is between my toes.
Yeah.
But it is a happy memory of some ways.
Great, thank you.
This business on being focused against teams on our level, there's only one team on their level, and it's them.
Yeah, at the minute, by the looks of it, yeah.
Unless
So,
they're going
come
to
on.
play Sheffield United from last season, which seems unfair.
Maybe they should all get together. They could have like a 3-way tournament, them, Sheffield United and Huddersfield.
Like West Brom in as well, because they always do this. Just create a yo-yo division. Just randomly draw one of them. They don't have to play games every other season.
Are we going to win?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's another one of them. I mean, if ever there's a fixture where you look at it and you go, we've got to win this. Never mind should, got to.
And that's Watford now seems like a long time ago, but that's exactly how that played out. We had to win. It was winnable, and they were garbage. So happy days. We'll do it
And
again.
then Watford go and score 5 at Everton.
Yeah, Everton messed that up though.
That's
didn't they?
insane, isn't it?
They took the good players off, and they were 2-0 up, and then took off their good attackers. And Yerry Mina, Bamford's bestie, was. I don't think he was in the game at all. I don't think he played, so their defence just fell apart. Somehow Watford got through. What I'm saying is Watford is still going down.
Right.
But just as we beat them when we needed to and thought we would, we're going to do that to Norwich.
The Square Ball Podcast.